Welcome back to episode number 34 of ECW CyberSlam, and we begin with a look back at the conclusion of last week's episode. After Rob Van Dam and Sabu had gone to a no contest with Homicide and Low Key, Paul Heyman came down to the ring to make an announcement for November to remember. He confirmed that Rob Van Dam would face Homicide at the show, while Sabu would face Low Key in two matches that would take place simultaneously as Double Jeopardy returned to ECW. The winners of those two matches would stay on to face each other, the winner leaving as the ECW World Champion. Out of that, Steve Corino and the Extreme Horsemen come down to the ring ahead of Anderson and Richards' match with the F.B.I. The leader takes a microphone and cuts a bitter promo talking about how the Extreme Horsemen have taken out the Sandman, Balls Mahoney, Terry Funk and more of the ECW originals, yet they're not in the conversation for the big matches at November to remember. Steve promises another big victory for the group tonight and demands that they get what they deserve at November to remember. A masterful job of improvising a good promo from Steve Corino, and we go into the opening match. Stevie Richards and Cedric Anderson picking up a victory over Tony Mamaluke and Little Guido. Mamaluke taking the pinfall from Stevie Richards. It's an average match, Guido the best performer, Richards just slightly below him, and it is a straightforward victory for the Extreme Horsemen. After the match, as the Extreme Horsemen regroup in the ring, Tony Mamaluke rolls to the outside where he is confronted by Little Guido. The fired up Guido berates Tony yet again, this time slapping him in the face before storming off up the ramp. Back in the ring, Steve Corino points to yet another decisive win for the Extreme Horsemen as the group stand tall in the ring. As he goes to take a microphone from ringside, however, he is cut off by the music of Terry Funk. Not seen since he was thrown off the stage by Paul Burchill, Terry Funk shows no fear in facing off against the foreman in the ring. Steve Corino points out that he'd already beaten Funk at Heatwave, but Funk wasn't there to talk to him. Terry Funk says he knows all about Steve Corino and what he has to do to win, looking at Cedric Anderson and Stevie Richards who help Steve Corino on a regular basis, but Paul Burchill has caught his eye. Funk prides himself on getting up when he's been knocked down, but for a while he feared that Burchill had put him down for good. Funk, however, is far from done, and if they want themselves a huge match for November to remember, then Terry Funk is challenging Paul Burchill. While no answer came, Funk left the ring, with it being clear that Paul Burchill would be more than happy to face Funk at November to remember. We then get a look back at last week footage, cameras caught backstage, Rob Van Dam and Sabu brawling with Low Key and Homicide, fighting in different parts of the building. The four men were unaware of what was going on in the ring as Paul Heyman announced the main event of November to remember. While the two pairs were eventually pulled apart and kept apart, the commentators noted that they were the last four men in the building to know of the main event of November to remember. Xavier is then interviewed ahead of his match with CM Punk in the main event. He says there's been a lot of talk about the Hustle holding all the gold in ECW, with Low Key and Homicide going for the world title at November to remember. There's also been talk that he's not holding his own in the Hustle. Tonight that changes as he beats CM Punk for the ECW World Television Championship, and unlike his brothers in the Hustle, he's going to do it alone. The second match of the night is a very short match, Raven beating one of Homicide's students, KC Blade, with a Raven effect in 2 minutes and 24. It's a very poor match, and in the post-match, Raven is jumped by the Havana Pitbulls. The ECW World Tag Team Champions lay into Raven until Tommy Dreamer runs down with a steel chair. Looking to avoid Dreamer, Ricky and Rocky leave the ring, but forget to take their titles with them. Watching on as Tommy Dreamer picks them up, they can do nothing as he hands one of them to Raven. Raven looks down at the title and up to Dreamer. Dreamer says, "I don't like you and you don't like me," but at November to remember, they're going to win the titles. We then get a backstage interview with Rhino ahead of the main event. He is asked what happens if Xavier wins the title tonight, but he dismisses the suggestion. Instead, Rhino says that it doesn't matter who he faces, CM Punk, Xavier, both of them, or the entire roster. There is nobody in ECW, past, present, or so-called future, who can come close to surviving the gore. As Rhino says this, he is confronted by a passing Johnny Cashmere, who says that Rhino shouldn't be so sure. Cashmere doesn't get much further in his response to Rhino, however, as Rhino drops him and leaves the interview set. The main event is a good main event, a 71C+, and probably saves what has been a pretty poor show overall. I was pretty confident that Punk could get a good rating. Xavier always does pretty well. He's always around that 50 rating now, and it's a great match with a decent reaction. CM Punk winning a 14 minutes and 21, just 40 seconds short of a time limit draw, so a very good showing for Xavier. A positive performance for him, but he is defeated with that go to sleep, the sixth defense of the ECW World Television title for CM Punk. After the match, however, Punk isn't quite prepared for an attack from Rhino, who quickly takes him down with a gore from seemingly out of nowhere. Punk's body goes stiff as Rhino continues the attack on the ground. He then throws Punk to the outside, Rhino charging him into the guardrail before hitting another gore as he rebounds back. The commentators put over the impact that one gore can have on someone, let alone two, as Punk struggles back to his feet holding his ribs. CM Punk is then hit with a third gore in quick succession, Rhino climbing the steel steps to stand over Punk as ECW CyberSlam goes off the air. Losing heat to the storyline, unfortunately, but that is a decent ending segment, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to be a C-rated show. A 57C-, so slightly lower than what I expected, increasing our popularity in 44 regions, which is always good. The build to November to Remember continuing with another solid show. I did hope and expect better. Punk's main event performance dragging up what was a terrible show really, so I don't know why I expected more. Nonetheless, we have 2 weeks left until ECW November to Remember 2006, and with the card shaping up, we just gotta hope that we can continue to have solid shows going into the pay-per-view.